Coin traders, how we doing? What is going on? Thanks for joining me for the show. Going to be looking at Algorand today, ALGO on that ticker. One of the few altcoins right now that is seeing a little bit of an upside move. Obviously not the top leader of the day, of course, because it's Algorand, but we are seeing a little bit of a nice pattern here going on, and especially with this nice daily setup after coming off of a bounce defending this nice level at 1050. We are going to be talking all about price levels analysis and all of what we can expect moving forward with Algorand in the coming days and weeks here. So definitely make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. Also, over on Twitter, made a tweet yesterday that I posted which price target for Algo will hit first, 13 cents or 9.8 cents. So if you haven't engaged already, lots of discussion over there. Do make sure you drop me a follow over on Twitter at coin_trades is the handle over there. Looking forward to chatting with everyone over on Twitter. Now, so first, just want to comment on this extremely massive bullish day that Algorand had back on the 13th. So we saw a rally of about 15% to the upside. So that's extremely significant, especially because we have all of these bearish days in a row that actually got knocked out by this one single candle. So you can count them up. We were looking at, let's see here, we were looking at a total of 7 days. So a full week of bearish downside here that just got completely annihilated with one bullish candle here. So even if we want to talk about the volume overall, let's go ahead and turn volume on and actually look at it. We're actually looking at the biggest amount of bullish volume that we've seen for Algorand since about the beginning of February, which I believe was when we had the more bullish volume than when we actually had the Algo Kit launch back on the 29th of March. So we were actually looking at the most amount since the beginning of February, coming off of all of this bullish uptrend for the start of the year that the crypto space experienced, to a very nice rally and bounce. So could this be a sign of a bottom forming when we do get this much volume coming in? Well, potentially this is one of the signs that we typically look for when we do talk about a bottom and a potential reversal. Now, so we're also about half an hour from closing the day and actually the weekly candle as well. So what's significant about the current candle too is that zooming in once again after a extremely nice bullish break of this bullish candle, we did see a bearish retracement, but actually found nice level of closing support defending about 11.34, which if we do zoom out and look left, point of support as well as big point of resistance coming off the all-time low. So additionally too, this was a big point of resistance before finding this second bottom. So after a huge bullish rally, a retracement defending some previous resistance, confirming that as support, and then now finding a little bit more upside is one of the good signs. But we actually do still need to see a lot more continued follow through, especially since we are getting now an upside wick that's about comparable to the body of the candle, especially with just about half an hour to close. We are expecting that actually to be the sign. And after rejecting from this 26-period exponential moving average, we do have a little bit more bearish selling pressure, especially since we're coming off of a high. So if we actually flip over and look at 2-day candles, you can see we are forming a nice inside bar pattern here day over day on this 2-bar pattern. But we do still have just over a day to close, so we are expecting a little bit more price range. But if we do get a follow-on day after that and continuation, that's going to lead to that inside bar pattern. Typically on these 2-day candles, we don't see as many consecutively as we do on the daily, obviously for those reasons. But nonetheless, still very nicely defending this line of support at 11.34. And so on the 2-day candles, which we can observe on the 1-day as well, getting stuck up in between the 12 and 26 here. But that's a very good sign. But we do know that we have topped out several times on this zone. So what's really going to need to happen and be an indication of a little bit more upside growth is a nice 2-day close on top of this 26-period exponential moving average. So flipping over into the 1-day back again, you can see same sort of thing, except we are looking at the 26 and also the 50-period. But what's notable about that too is that we do need to obviously find support first on top of the 12, which the current candle is looking to do and make that close and finally print here in about a half an hour, especially since yesterday's candle got stuck up at below that resistance point. Now, I do want to talk about this extremely nice level of closing support and defense that we're looking at just above 1050 and even down to the price level of support, which comes in at about 1032. even though our low was about 1029. So 1029, 1032, that's going to be a very nice zone. And so we know that candles haven't closed below that level ever. So now I want to actually flip over into the weekly chart because we have a lot of things happening here on the weekly. One of the most notable things is that in the current candle setup right now, you can see a very nice strong defense of this closing weekly support at just over the 11 cent level. So we're looking at about 11.04. So 2 times now, the bears have tried to push prices below this. Bulls ate up and supported that support zone. So again, after rejecting just above the 14 cents level, bears pushed back, closing support for the weekly defended against that. So extremely strong weekly closing support tested twice. Now, we can't necessarily call this a double bottom just yet, but this is the type of pattern that we do need to look for. But we also need to make sure we're not setting lower highs and actually forming a descending triangle. That could potentially be a setup unless we actually see a break of this trend line, which we actually have a very nice downtrend resistance line forming right now. So that is going to be one of our upside targets, especially just at the 13 cent line. So now if we actually zoom out and talk about the weekly closing support for where we actually saw back in the March 2020 COVID crash, we were looking at a weekly support coming in just actually above that at about 1435. So if we flip over into the current week, you can see how we actually are finding resistance shortly below that. So that's going to be an extremely big resistance zone from current weekly resistance points right at about 1372 up until that 1435 level. That is going to be extremely strong resistance. Plus, we also have this downtrend resistance line for week over week. And in addition to that, we also now have this 12-period exponential moving average starting to roll down. So even breaking above this trend line is going to be a very big resistive point for Algorand at about the 13.5 to 14.5 cent levels. As you can see, if we do zoom out, we have extremely strong resistance, especially below the 26-period exponential moving average. But since we have actually rejected below that for quite some time now, since the middle of April, we are seeing resistance come in at the 12-period first. So now let's go ahead and talk about the weekly bullish volume defending this 11.04 cent range, and especially notable because we have a lot of volume on the current candle that's about to close in about a half an hour again. And so it's fair to assume that our all-time low candle is about the peak bearish volume of this current weekly trend that we've saw for about 2 months. So especially when we get these 2 weeks of bearish candles that have week over week decreasing bearish candles, volume, then especially with this very nice bullish candle that's about to close, we have a very strong defense of that level, showing a lot of buying coming in when prices do get to that point, especially after decreasing selling pressure. So what really solidifies this is if on the next week we see a very nice bullish candle as well and a lot of nice upside, which would break this extremely strong resistive zone. That would be one of the confirmation signals we would need to see in order to confirm that this is going to be our double bottom pattern, and likely the 11 cent close for Algorand's weekly is going to be where we are finding our established base of support. If that does not happen, then what we are looking at is another increased potential of a shot up testing these resistive zones, and then likely a failure of the bulls to show continuation and follow through, especially since it is likely that the foundation might start to sell, especially DWF Labs could sell a lot of their grants as well. Obviously, that's just speculation based on what's happening over on social media, but that type of market factor is something that we have to be aware of when we talk about the analysis and likely resistance and expectation of selling pressure when we do think of Algorand here. So that's pretty much what we are looking at for Algorand coming up. So if we can hold support on top of 1135 and especially on top of this 11 cent psychological, especially for the day, we haven't had many closes below it. So our only 2 candles actually that had pretty substantial bodies below this 11 cent psychological level, reversed pretty quick, and now we're sitting on top of the 1135 support once again. But if we do break those levels, then that's pretty much going to continue to signal a lot of downside selling pressure, and we will get down to testing about the 1050 psychological support level that will be testing our all-time lows again. So again, support levels are pretty critical at this point. If we do break those, we are going to look at a little bit more slippage, especially since we do have a little bit more downtrend line resistance along with the exponential moving averages and all of that. So small potential hope of some bullish upside if we do get a little bit of follow through. But if that does not happen in the next day or 2, then we are going to be expecting a little bit more of that slippage. So that's what the anticipation and expectation for Algorand is going to be right now at this point. So yeah, with that, actually is going to go ahead and wrap up our show and updates for Algorand ALGO on that ticker. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. Don't forget to drop me a follow over on Twitter at coin_trades is the handle. Do appreciate all the continued love and support. Don't forget to drop me a note down in the comment sections below. Stay safe, take care, everyone, and I'll catch you back in the next video.